Welcome, everybody, to the Grind Path to Pro podcast, episode 13. If you're seeing some strange smiles, it's because everything was a little bit scuffed 5 seconds before we went live, but we managed to sort it out. Obling's camera fell over, my mic stand broke.
Yes.
It was pretty ridiculous, but we are here and we are not scuffed. Let's get it. I'm joined today with some fantastic guests, but before we jump right into it, I just want to remind everybody, !grind will give you the link to our Discord server. Please do hop in, come join us, send in your questions for our guests. It's going to be a great episode. So let's jump right into it. I'm going to do the usual thing. I'm going to be like, who are you and why do we care? So I'm going to start with you, Gio. Who are you and why should we care?
Pin the pressure on me first. Hey, I'm Gio. I am an Overwatch caster. I recently casted Contenders China Season 1. I've also cast some other stuff recently. I was at Insomnia, which is a massive LAN that we have here in the UK, and I casted a load of stuff there. That's pretty much what I do.
That's what you, okay, that's like a really condensed version, but that'll do.
Yeah. I'm not going to list off everything. We'll be here all day.
Wow, easy flex. All right, moving along. Obling, who are you and why should we care?
I'm Obling, I'm 23, I'm Flex DPS for Hughes Money Crew EU. And why should you care? I've been around for a long time, so yeah.
23 years.
Yeah, exactly. 23 years. More like 2. I played with Singularity in Season 1 Contenders, I think. So since then, which is like, what, 1.5 years ago?
Damn. Been around the block.
Yes.
Right. Fivo, who are you? And I just recently learned that it's not pronounced Fivo. Who are you and why should we care?
I'm Fivo. I quit professional Overwatch a week ago, I think, actually. But since I'm for that, I guess. I'm an ex-Contenders South America coach for Obling and Esports.
In Fivo's spare time, he doubles as a Bastion voiceover.
Oh my god.
That's so destroyed, dude.
Oh god.
And it's so bad because before we started, it was perfect. I think his camera's frozen as well.
It's curse of Obling.
Yes, it's not worse than mine.
Okay. Well, we're going to give Fivo a minute or two to try and sort out his internet. In the meantime, Purge, who are you and why should we care?
Hi everyone, my name is Purge. I'm 18 years old. I've played Overwatch for quite a long time. I think since Season 2, but I haven't played the game professionally until very recently, where I played in a team called Know You OTP, where basically, which was the start of the team I'm playing in right now, which is now called Clockwork Vendetta. And we're currently competing in the trials for EU.
Nice. All right, that is all of our guests. So we're going to start off with a short interview for all of you guys. So that was just your little introduction, and now you get to tell us a little bit more about who you are and where you've come from. The first question, obviously, Gio, we're going to start with you again. So just tell us a little bit about your esports journey. How did you get into esports? Where did it start, and how did you get where you are today?
So, actually, all right. I'm going to tell the what is I deem to be a kind of embarrassing story, because I was really interested in Overwatch since it came out. I played the game since it came out. Actually, it's one of the only games I've ever pre-ordered. Wow. And I know, right? Crazy. But I always wanted to get into esports, but I was only ever into shooters, and I, for some reason, didn't think that was an esports thing. Like, I had a lot of friends who were into esports in university, but they were all into things like Hearthstone and Dota. So my exposure to esports was only through them. And it wasn't until the Overwatch League became a thing that I actually realized that this thing I'd been wishing existed had existed for quite a long time. And so I was like, oh, okay. So I started watching that, got into it. And it kind of combined with a time where I was going through a little bit of a hard time. I had a really, really serious medical scare last year. And that was combined with me getting really burnt out from my degree. And so I was already not really interested in pursuing the master's degree and the prestigious internship that I had that I was supposed to be doing. And so I got to the end of my university year, which is about June time, and I was like, I am just going to leave. Like, I'm not going to do my master's. I'm not going to do my internship. I'm just going to leave, and I'm going to try and go to esports. Which was a massive risk. Obviously, it's a crazy thing to sort of just do, especially as I don't live with my parents. I haven't lived with my parents for years. I live on my own. I have to pay for everything or whatever. I had experience in front of cameras, and I knew that I enjoyed it and that I was somewhat good at it. So I just tried to get involved with stuff, and I spent the last few months of 2018 trying to like build up some portfolio. And then from New Year 2019, I started actually getting like paid work and trying to spread my wings a little bit more and actually doing things. And it's miraculously actually worked out.
Love it when that happens. Things just kind of work
feels
out.
good, man.
So what have you been doing lately? Because I know that you're doing Chinese Contenders. I think anybody anybody knows that. But I know that you've been doing a lot of other stuff on the side.
Yeah, so yeah, I did Contenders China because I actually hosted it last season 3. So I wanted to still be involved in the region, especially as like I would like to be involved with Contenders EU at some point, but like there isn't exactly like an opening right now. So I was like, okay, well, I still want to be involved in Contenders. I love Tier 2 Overwatch. I almost watch it more than Overwatch League, potentially. I haven't been timing. But I have been doing something. So I've been doing a lot of hosting work with EA and working on some Apex Legends content with them. I went to Poland with ESL to go and work on their VR league. I'm hoping I'll get the opportunity to do some more of that because I really enjoyed working with them. I've been doing a UK-based tournament called Arena Clash, which had its LAN finals a couple of weekends ago, which was really fun, and that was really great. So I've been doing a lot of studio work, and then obviously these LAN tournaments because I did the Insomnia tournament as well as the Arena Clash finals. So yeah, basically just had a lot of stuff going on.
Nice. Glad to hear it. I remember when I first met you back in BGG, I think we were all a little bit green, and it's really cool to see how you've blossomed and really made a mark for yourself in esports. So I'm happy to hear that.
Thank you.
Right, and let's move on to our next person. That's going to be Obling. So obviously we know that you're playing for SMC at the moment.
Yes.
How did you start out in esports? Was Overwatch your first esport? How did this whole thing evolve?
So Overwatch wasn't my first game. I played CS:GO because like I have two older brothers and they're both like both really into like CS and stuff. So I played on their PC in the beginning when I was younger, and then I eventually got my own. I started playing for like a long time. I'm really competitive, so I always want to be the best, whatever I do. So I played for a long time, and then like one of my friends was like, yo, this game's coming out, let's get it, let's play it. And I was like, okay, sure. And then I eventually started playing with him, and then he got bored of it, and I just kept on going, and eventually I got picked up by a team called Squid Squad, which wasn't good at all or something. We were like tier 3 or tier 4 or something like that. It was really low. But some of the Danish players, way back then, it was like Lin and Nerfed and them. They realized I was decent at the game, and they ended up picking me up, and we made a full Danish team called Casey Liddens, which eventually got picked up by Singularity, and that's like the way I got into Contenders. Yeah, so I got really lucky because it was Danish. So I got an easy way in, I would say. Yeah, and then like of course after that. Singularity we disbanded because we didn't make it to season 2. We lost in trials. We got beat by 6 Snakes, I think, or something. And I got picked up for a short time by Bazooka Puppies. What then? I played for some open team, and then I joined NOS, which we did really, really well. We ended up top 3, I think, in trials. Yeah, it's just out of, and then I got picked up as sub for SMC, and then Polly went to 1 point, and then I got to join instead. So yeah, I don't know. There's not much more, I think.
And that's it, folks.
Yes.
That's a cool story though, because it's very like tumultuous and kind of up and down. A lot of the guests we've had on have kind of had these like straight shots, like, well, I did open division and then I went to trials and now I'm in Contenders. Yay! For you, it's been a little bit of a journey, and it's like, you know, get to trials, back to open division, back to be like, now I'm a sub, and oh geez, now I got to fill in somebody else's shoes. And I actually remember chatting to Recent and him telling me how impressed he was with you and how you managed to pick up your roles so quickly.
Yeah, of course. Like me, as soon as I joined, me and Reason, like we talked about it, and we did like a web review together, like one-on-one and shit. So we got me into the whole thing. I tried to adapt as quickly as possible. It took some time, of course, but because I was a sub before as well, like I got to see a little like how things work and stuff before, so it was a little easier than if I was coming like from completely outside. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys are still doing well. Thank you,
Yes.
not relegated to trials. I was really sad in your last game. I've been in every single SMC game. Hashtag
Nice.
SMC.
Nice. Yeah.
And that last game was a little bit disappointing, but you guys will still be in trials next, or not trials, in contenders next season. So I look forward to that very much.
Nice. Yes.
I sat behind Mal's Insomnia while he was playing that game. Yeah,
You were one of the people we could keep hearing. I'm like, Mouse, fucking.
Dude, there was like a mini crowd. Like I wasn't really saying anything because I knew I was sat the closest to him, so I didn't want to like keep making too much noise. But yeah, there was like a little like mini crowd. I was just like sat. Oh, my microphone! I just sat there on my chair, like watching over his shoulder.
Yeah.
I'm actually impressed that you controlled yourself. I would have been there going, yee! Really? Oh no, I fangirl. I try not to. I'm not a woo girl. I keep it like on the DL. That's why it's just little like yeet, woohoo. I don't want to be too much of a distraction, but I want the whole internet to know that I am there. You know, got to make your mark. All right, Fivo, let's a little bit about your esports journey. How did you get into Overwatch and casting, and why? Or not casting, coaching is the word. And what prompted your leave from Overwatch?
So first of all, I hope it works now. So Overwatch is my first esports, actually. I got into it because of my friends. The reason I went to coaching, I started playing in season 2. The reason I went to coaching is because I one-trick Doomfist, and I didn't think that any team wanted me as a one-trick player. So I was like, let's start coaching, because I always liked teaching people stuff. And I got this massive opportunity for HSL Academy in OD season 3, 2018, I think, HSL Academy. I got picked up, and then HSL, like the academy was promoted. Mm-hmm. And then I went to SA Contenders because I got an offer. I did trials with them. It went well. And then I went from Caverna as head coach to Upgaming as assistant coach for playoffs. But like the scrim hours for me, because I live in Germany, were like 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. It was like with my school that was starting at 7 a.m. till 4 p.m. That was like killing me. That was killing my back. I had massive back pains. That was killing my mental health over the days, weeks, whatever. And like, I thought about quitting a lot. And then eventually I just decided that I can't take it anymore. But it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
Do you ever see yourself coming back in a more reasonable region with better hours?
The thing is, in July, I'm actually moving to Shanghai.
What?
So the thing is, I don't speak Chinese. I don't speak Korean. So I was like, I won't get picked up for that region. And Australian Contenders also has a time shift. It's not that bad, but it has a time shift. So probably not.
Oh man, that's so sad. Still, at least you had your time, and on some teams that did pretty well as well. So
yeah,
it's cool that you had the opportunity to kind of participate and be involved and help some players grow. And I'm sure that they'll never forget that.
Yeah, I do hope so. And maybe I'll keep on playing competitive. Maybe I can reach 4.6 again. We'll see.
In China.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, only the best opponents. Only the best opponents make you improve.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah. That's true. Oh, we'll be rooting for you. Hopefully, one day we'll see you in the Chinese contenders scene.
Yes,
that's actually pretty pog. I'm not gonna lie. All right. Finally, Purge. tell us a little bit about your esports journey?
Oh,
And why is there an echo?
Shit,
it's
Okay, nice. What?
all right, there we go. Yeah, I have no idea what that was, but apparently there was some kind of echo going on. I'm sorry, what was the question? I got distracted. Okay, I got distracted.
Attention of a goldfish, boys.
Okay, shots fired. That's a bit cold.
Literally 3 people answered this question before you. So either you weren't paying attention.
No, I'm just looking at Obling, looking at his phone like this.
Yeah, he's like blowing his phone up his nose. I was looking at that too. It's like, what are you doing?
Obling, are you good?
I don't.
just
think
because
it's
he has his Skype mic on, so you can hear me. You can hear it through my phone, through my mic. You know what I mean? Like.
He was the cause.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes, exactly.
Nice.
So that's why you saw my nose. I had to try to fix it if I could mute it.
House tour.
But I don't know how to mute you.
This is literally the best episode ever.
Okay,
Alright.
I think I can put it back out. So.
Okay,
This
we're
is
back.
such a dysfunctional podcast right
Oh,
now.
wait,
Like the most
No, this is
Hello,
completely fine.
No, I mean like the 5 most dysfunctional people. Just like
is so-
all
Oh,
sat-
come on.
No, you.
We got Obling's
Come on.
nose. We got Purge's echo.
It
We
was
got
a
Nari.
nice
We got Nari with her. Yeet.
Okay. Listen, we're all good people in here. We're all good people.
I'm good people. All right. Let's get this back on track.
All right.
Tell us a little bit about your esports journey. So how did you get into esports and how did you eventually get into Overwatch and where you are right now?
All right. So from what I heard, like a lot of people played really early on and like found some kind of career in contenders or open division or whatever. But I started like really recently, like just going way back. Ever since I was like 5 years old, I just realized that the outside world is boring. So I just sat inside and played games all day. So you know, I played standard
Discovered that
games.
when you were 5?
Yeah, I was like, well, the real world is boring, so might as well go play games, you know. So I sat inside and I played, you know, like I picked up FPSs when I was like 8 or 9, and you know, played like old CS and stuff like that. And eventually, when I was like 11 or 12. I picked up Team Fortress 2, which I played for a really long time. Like, I think I have over 5,000 hours on record playing Team Fortress. Yeah, I just enjoy just rolling people in that game. I became like ridiculously good at the game. So that was kind of my how I had fun in life. I just stomped random kids that try to play the game. But I basically decided that at one point I decided that maybe I shouldn't bully people. That I just tried to
maybe.
Maybe I should switch to another game that's not dead and actually has a pro scene and do well there. So that's what I did. Me and my friends, we picked up Overwatch. I mean, my friends played it in season 2 or whatever, and they said, "Hey, this game's really cool. Hey, they have like Japanese archers and like ninjas and stuff, and they have really cool like cinematics. Look at Dragons. Dragons is a good cinematic." And so I watch it, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm buying the game," and I bought the game. And instantly after Dragons, I instantly mained Genji. Right, I had to main.
Yeah, we all.
He was like my fantasy, you know. I was 16 at the time. I was like, dude, Genji, he's my man. He's my man. I identify with this man. So I mained Genji for a lot of seasons. I think I decided that, okay, well, if I want to become as good as I was in TF2, I gotta grind this game 24/7. So that's what I did. My friends, they were like chilling in silver and gold, and I just kept climbing. You know, I didn't stop. You know, day and night, I just kept climbing, and I made it a goal that I would climb 1 rank every season. So season 2, I placed in silver, and then I went up to diamond. Season 3, I was masters. Season 4, grandmaster. Season 5, I hit top 500, and then after that, I was top 500 player basically every season. And I would always make it like a challenge, you know. I would always pick different heroes to climb with, different tactics and stuff, because I've always had that principle. I want to do new stuff. I want to become good at a lot of things. So that's kind of where my esports career started. I got a lot of attention by basically just playing on ladder, playing a lot of games. I meme, I don't really take a lot of ladder games seriously, so I have a lot of fun, meet a lot of cool people and friends. So yeah, and then eventually I decided that when Overwatch League started, I decided that, wow, playing on a stage like that in a team, having, coaches and stuff, it sounds really cool. And you hear, when soon pops off, you hear in the crowd, soon. And then you hear like, when Shadowburn pulls out the blade, I'm like, I want to be that guy. I want to be up there. I want to be on that stage. So I decided eventually that I would just take the game more seriously. But then I realized that, like, if I just follow the pros, if I want to be like Soon, or if I want to be like Shadowburn, I will never be better than them. I will always be living in their shadow. So I decided to, very early on, develop my own play style, my own heroes that I play, and my overall, mindset around the game. And that's where my career started. It started with No You OTP in the last Open Division season, where we're basically a bunch of one tricks that let's play Open Division, let's annoy some people. And we actually made it to the playoffs, and we made it to 4th spot by playing Orisa, Roadhog, Reaper, May, Lucio, Ada. And I was like, wow, hold up a second, hold up. Okay. So 4th place, I was like, okay, if we take this seriously, if we just play seriously, we can win this whole thing. And that's what we did. So that's basically where I am right now. I have a very, very nice team I'm very proud of. A lot of nice people. And I'm very excited to continue my journey and win contenders, hopefully.
This does not sound like the story of a one trick.
No, it doesn't. But I mean,
every season I tried a new hero and climbed to top 500 with that hero because I wanted to be different and change it up and improve. And now I'm going to Open Division and I'm going to play one hero for the rest of my life.
I mean, you got to challenge yourself to really improve at the games. Even though I play Red Roll at like a 4.6k level, I just felt like I'm just going to play Doomfist in the Sombra meta just to challenge myself so I can become really good at Doomfist. And that's what happened. So, when I bring up my Doomfist, things are going to go down, I can assure you.
Yes.
I'm just thinking, like, all those posts you see on the competitive Overwatch subreddit that are like, I'm in silver, is it possible to go to Grandmaster? Just link them to this podcast.
Easy.
Easy.
Yeah, but that's basically how I got to my spot right here. I just felt like, I want to go pro, so let's do it.
I feel like that's kind of like me with casting. I was like, I want to be a caster, so I just did it.
Do it. I mean, put in the time and the effort, and you can go anywhere you want. For sure.
It's pretty inspirational. All right, that kind of covers the introductory interview portion of this. We went a little bit over time, but it was definitely worth it. Oh my lord. So let's get straight into contenders playoffs, and we are going to talk a little bit about trials in a minute, but we'll start with playoffs, specifically covering the regions that we're representing here. So we've got EU, China, and South America. And let's start with South America, because all of the playoffs, they are done, and it's just the finals between Low-Key and Fury. And so the questions that I have here, did the playoff bracket look as you expected? Were there any teams that surprised you?
Well, definitely. I think the team that everyone that follows South America surprised is Fury. Mm-hmm. They beat X10, which is normally like the best team after Low-Key. And that like really surprised me. It's the only team, the other matches like went how I expected them to end really. But that final is going to be really good. But I still think Loki's gonna win because they're just better in my opinion.
There we go. And what about EU? Obling, specifically for you now. Obviously, we've got British Hurricane and Angry Titan in the in the finals. So did that surprise you at all? Was that kind of, obviously y'all were hoping that you were going to make the final. No team was hoping for like second, like third or fourth place. But just in terms of how the matches went, because I felt like there were a couple of upsets during the regular season. So Was there anything that really stood out for you that made you go, whoa, I can't believe this just happened?
I mean, always like Gigant is pretty strong, but people started to figure out like how they did. They recently changed it again, but like in the beginning, like like last season, Giganti was really strong. So coming into the season, you would think Giganti would probably end in the finals, but like during the season, you realize, okay, holy shit, fucking British Hurricane is insane, and Angry Titan is like, I don't know, Angry Titan is like so weird. Like unofficials, like I don't know, they just step it up a notch, and like they're so scary. I don't know, like they just show up. Like when they really show up, they show up really hard. So I'm not really surprised to see those two in the final. Of course, we should have been in it, but British Hurricane is just too good, honestly. Like they're really good.
I think both of those teams, watching them throughout the season, it's been the story of stepping up. Both of these teams have a pretty sordid history. Angry Titans forever in that like second place, third place, like drifting in between there every single season. British Hurricane last year were a mess. And I mean, I'm not even, it's not even me being
Don't hold
mean.
back.
No, we spoke about this in the episode on Tuesday as well, about Sky Foxes, who had a team of like 26 billion players and 375 million coaches, and they were terrible. They got rolled by everyone. And then they came into this season and they're one of the strongest looking teams. And it's kind of similar with British Hurricane. They were looking pretty bad the last couple of seasons. And this season, they've really stepped it up. So it's pretty cool to see them both in this final.
I heard that like they put in a lot of effort. Like they play a lot, they practice a lot. Like they really, really put in the grind to become the best of the best. So it's definitely showing off. Like they decided, okay, we're not doing that well. We're gonna fucking like turn it up a notch, and they're doing insane now. So showing.
Like British Hurricane had some like identity issues in season 2 because they just lost Craggy as well, and so they were like sort of a little bit lost because the team and the players and the roster that had got them to first place in season 1 wasn't there anymore, and so what they kind of got used to and knew to work for them like wasn't really it anymore. So obviously then they got relegated down into trials, and they started to pick things up in season 3 a bit, but they needed that time because they brought on like new staff members and stuff like that. They needed that time to kind of refine what it was they were going for, and like what their strategies were, how they were going to play people. And obviously they've got like some like new members for this season. They got Danid at the end of last season, right? And then they got Numlocked new for this season, but he's already an experienced player. So like they were a lot more in a position and amongst themselves to actually be able to perform well. Whereas they'd obviously had like quite a roller coaster in last year.
Yeah, sounds about right. I just wanted to see if anybody else was going to chip in. I always leave like a little bit of space there, and then it turns into an awkward silence, and then I have to make some shit up. All right, and finally, Chinese contenders. So you guys, you've still got your playoff.
Oh yes, semifinals haven't been done yet. Yeah, so only the quarterfinals have been done. Yeah, it's looking interesting. I think the game to watch out for is going to be LG Huya versus Bilibili, because these are the academy teams for Chengdu Hunters and for Hangzhou Spark, respectively. Bilibili were really good. They're very good. They like to play a lot of goats. They're a little bit more of a standard team, but LG Huya are insane. Like this academy team have just like been amazing. And the interesting thing is going to be whoever wins that semi-final is going to have to most likely go up against T1W, which we don't know for sure yet because they've got to beat LGD first. But T1W kind of started the season, so they won last season. Then they kind of started this season being like, okay. Or like, they were just a bit overshadowed by Bilibili, and they've kind of creeped back up to their former selves a little bit this season, towards the end of the season, sorry. And so it'll be very, very interesting to see who actually ends up taking the title. I don't think it's too crazy to think that T1W could do it, although I would like to see one of the academy teams do it. I would like to see it either be Bilibili or Lingan.
Yeah. And just in terms of the playoff bracket, were there teams that just completely came out of nowhere and surprised you, or has it been more or less what you've been expecting?
The thing is, in China this season was because, we had the addition of 3 new academy teams to join Team CC, who were Shanghai's academy team. There was a lot of poaching from rosters. So a lot of rosters have been really mixed up. So for example, last season, the team that sort of surprised everyone was Flag Gaming, because they just turned out to have this incredible support line with Mika and Coldest and Ova, who is pretty much the best main tank in the region. But they all kind of got split up. They also had MG as well, who was on the Shanghai Dragons, who was probably up against only Hybe for the best diva in the region. And China is a region that sort of lacks good off tanks. And they have all been split apart. So Flag Gaming are actually out in the quarterfinals this time. So it's less to do with, I guess there has been one team that surprised everyone in a good way. I think the team that surprised people the most would be Guangzhou Academy, who on paper look amazing and have actually performed pretty terribly. They're in trials. Oof. They didn't make it into playoffs, and they will be relegated. And they've got that's the team that's got Mui. They have Nero from NA. They have decent players. And it could be a language barrier thing, because they are a mixed roster and they're working with an English speaking head coach. But yeah, I would say most of the big surprises in China this season have probably not necessarily been good ones. And it's hard to say that new academy teams have done surprisingly well, because you sort of expect them to be good because they get the best players.
Wait, so
now, go ahead.
Guangzhou Academy is working with a English-speaking coach.
Yeah, he's working with Cuddles, who was one of the coaches for the LA Valiant.
And that's funny because, I think a while ago I read an application for the coaching position for Guangzhou Academy, and it said only Chinese-speaking coaches may apply.
Oh, wow.
Wait, was this Guangzhou or Hangzhou?
Oh.
No, the Guangzhou Academy.
Yeah, it was Guangzhou.
I can look up the roster. I never remember who's on what team.
Alrighty then. But now with the rules, because every first season of Contenders, trials teams get an automatic, not trials, academy teams get an automatic invite. So
no, that was for the first season.
Yeah, but isn't that the first season every year? That's how
every year, yeah. But for season 2, that won't apply. So for next season, that won't apply because that's not the first season of the year.
There you go.
Yeah, so no, they have MG, who I kind of feel bad for because he did so well last season. Nero, Only Wish, who is a 2-way player, he's a main sport. Tizzy, Mui, Rise, and Century. So those are most of those are names people know. Everyone knows who Tizzy is, everyone knows who Nero is. Well, most people anyway, and Mui from the World Cup, and people will have heard of Only Wish from when they were announcing OWL rosters. So yeah,
Jeez.
Bit of a yikes.
So it sounds pretty spicy. And I mean, given all of this, we can just go a little bit into the showdowns. How do you guys think the teams in your respective regions, and particularly China and South America, are going to be doing against their counterparts in the showdown?
So I'm going to be honest here. I'm really happy because I think that low-key Esports is going to be finally put in their spot. I think they're going to get smacked by every single team. They completely smack every team in South America, but I think against the EU and NA teams, they have no chance. Because they basically one-trick Sombra Goats. I think they're just going to get destroyed.
Yeah, that's going to be a difficult one to try and roll out with at the showdown.
See, I reckon British Hurricane will win the Atlantic Showdown.
I think so too. Honestly.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, they beat us, so of course they're going to win the whole thing.
Yeah, but you guys haven't beaten Eagle Gaming, so...
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, it's difficult. I've been looking at some of the NA teams, and some of them are looking pretty strong, but I don't know. I feel like British Hurricane have just really stepped up this season to that point.
NA's arguably strongest team, which I don't know loads about NA, but from what I know, I would say was probably Mayhem Academy for most of the season, because they're the ones who beat Fusion University's streak and stuff. They didn't even make it into finals, or they didn't make it into finals, or they didn't make it, or they didn't win, something like that. Either way, they got beaten out. And what is it? It's like Envy and who is going?
Gladiators.
Gladiator
Right?
Legion. Yeah.
Yes.
Let's go.
So the fact that like the teams that aren't even considered North America's best teams are the ones that are going does not set a very good starting point for them to win the Atlantic Showdown.
That's fair. I actually expected Fusion Uni to come out on top there, but yeah, I suppose surprises can happen. Although I do believe there are two, in total, 3 North American teams. So 2 from NA West and 1 from NA East.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
They have to do the
Yeah.
third place match
Yeah.
to figure out who's going. Have they already done it? I don't know. I don't really watch
Well,
NA.
Point being, pretty sure British Hurricane are going to take it.
I think so too.
Yeah. I think you're right.
And I think now let's just bring this back to Open Division. We were chatting a little bit about trials, so we've shot over to Showdown. Let's bring it back down to trials. And this is kind of what a lot of people have been waiting for. The chance to chat to Purge about Clockwork Vendetta and how you guys managed to pull off the upset of the Open Division season. When your roster was announced and everyone saw, Clockwork Vendetta, it's these guys. And everyone was kind of like, we got our eyes on you. And you came out guns blazing and you barreled through Open Division entirely undefeated. Not even the ex-contenders team of Wind and Rain. I think they did the best against you. They actually managed to take 2 maps off of you in the round 11 game. Or no, sorry, not round 11, in the winners final. But despite that, they still weren't able to take a win off of you. So I think, what kind of preparation have you guys been doing to get ready for this, for the Open Division?
Just to start things off, yeah, you're correct. They did very well against us. They took 2 maps off our. We won 1 game versus them, like 3-2. It was really, really close. But there's also another team that I want to mention and actually like commend. It's called Crescent 2, which is a team that I really like, admire. And they were really, really tough opponents, and they were also very, very close to winning a game against us. Mm-hmm. But I mean, the thing about our preparation is that a lot of our players, they don't have the time in real life to do scrims and to prepare that way. So we decided that, let's just practice as a team during the matches and stuff like that, and just do our best, I guess, with no scrim time. So that's kind of what happened, and we just decided, we might not win because we can't scrim and we can't like synergize properly. We haven't been together for that long. I mean, me and Minimi, Katakomi, Mighty Moose, or Essane, we've been together for a long time, but we've introduced Engineer, for example. I'm pretty sure a lot of people know who Engineer is, the legend himself. He's a new addition to our roster, and he's a very talented player.
Has a very large hero pool.
Yes, very, very good hero pool. Very admirable. So we introduced some new players. We brought in KG, for example, the streamer, and we played a bit. But yeah, our prep is basically just, go in there, do your stuff, play your hero. That's it, and it worked. I mean, what more can I say?
I mean, you're all so good at your heroes. Of course it will work.
Yeah, that was the thing, right? Because when I announced Clockwork Vendetta, this is actually a pretty funny thing. I was like, if you want to go pro, we have to play goats, right? That was the thing. You know, if you want to go pro, you gotta play goats. You gotta play 3-3. You're not playing 2-2-2. That clown fiesta stuff, it ain't gonna work. not in the higher ranks. So we decided, we made a goats lineup, and then we realized, but we're not good at goats. And then we're like, yeah. And then we're like, what are we good at? And then we're like, we're just a hope. And we're like, okay, go with it. And that's what happened. We made some roster switches. We brought in Engineer, fit like a and then here we are.
And as far as I know, Engineer wasn't on your team when you guys played against Shoes Money Crew in the Tournament of Future Champions.
I think
Shoes Money Crew being one of the few teams to actually beat you guys.
I mean, I think he was like super new to the team, but I think the the biggest thing was that we played like weird supports. We hadn't played together for really long. But yeah, Choose Money Crew was like the only team that actually was like scary to face. I mean, they're Molfig, the guy on Diva, he shoots his bombs.
Yeah, Molfig is insane.
Yeah, Molfig is crazy, dude.
Yes.
Dude, when I see Molfig, I'm just like that guy's he will make Overwatch League one day.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Choose Money Crew is so far the only team in the that has actually beat us in a tournament. I mean, all the other teams just can't beat us. I don't know why. I'm suspecting that Molfig might be the only in the entire world that can actually stop us. So he's kind of like the antidote.
Yeah, I mean, when we played last Open against you, and Molf was on the team as well.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
maybe it's something about it. Yeah.
Yeah. It must be it, right?
Yeah. 100%.
Can you be Runaway?
Probably. I mean, if they don't if they sub in Molfig or stuff, I mean, it might be over.
Right, Element Mystic beat them, so it can be done.
Oh, okay, highly doable.
Yeah.
Highly doable.
So you're saying that when you faced Choose Money Crew the first time, you were still like figuring it out and finding your feet and whatever. So do you think if you guys make contenders, you'll be able to beat them the next time around?
Yeah, for sure. I think that with the practice that we have on our heroes and our big hero pools, we will definitely be able to beat Choose Money Crew. The only thing that's scary is Molfig, though, because he's the only. I've said it before. He's the only man that has been confirmed that he can beat us. He's the only man.
Do you think
not the rest of the team?
No. Just Molfig,
Only him.
Molfig at 3 a.m. You don't want to be there.
I'm sure he'll be very happy to hear that.
Molfig's biggest fan, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's scary.
Well, in trials, you guys are going to be coming up against Young and Beautiful and Eternal Academy. And then, of course, Crescent Dew, Wind and Rain, and Clash. Clash, who run your composition.
And they're also doing very well.
The student becomes the master.
No.
How do you guys think you're going to do in trials?
I mean, the thing is that we're very confident. We know the ins and outs team. I mean, if we play a team once, we just literally analyze, okay, this is the carry. If we kill him, and that's what we did against Wind and Rain, for example, and Crescent 2. And I think that because we played them before, it will probably still be very close. But I think we will eventually just come out on top. But I mean, against a team like Young and Beautiful, if you look at Young and Beautiful's current record right now, it doesn't look very good.
They won 2 maps, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Young and Beautiful, there has to be something going on. Didn't they pick up Jonah, like people from the previous Open Division? Didn't they?
Like Young Savage picked up half of FAP.
Yeah.
Then they picked up Jonah later.
Yeah. So they signed that roster, kind of signed it, and it just hasn't been working out. And I think that Young Savage announced that he was he was leaving the team, or he was kicked or whatever. So that just is another sign that they're kind of panicking. They're kind of having a little turmoil. They need to come up with something fast.
I mean. Sorry, I was just gonna say, this is also the thing, right? Is people make their trials rosters and then they just change them again for contenders. So it's like trials has its own thing. So there's almost not that much point in putting so much stock in what the rosters are now, because the chances are, even though trials is only around the corner, chances are now it's not the same roster that you're actually going to end up facing.
And chances are it's probably going to get poached to death, because Eternal Academy, for example, might be looking to change things up, because whatever it was they were doing didn't work in the first season. So whether they're going to change possibly coaches or change some players, something is likely going to change. So the poaching fest is probably going to start again next season, and that will they'll likely poach from tier 2 teams who will then poach from tier 3. And so everything is basically going to become a melting pot of just picking.
And it could be a bad thing, because you don't know against, but at the same time they have a very tight schedule to get team synergy going and stuff. But I was actually surprised about Paris Academy. I took a look at their roster. They have a lot of talented players, and same with Young and Beautiful. So I'm really surprised that they have the score right now. So there are for sure some very like tough opponents in Contenders, I guess. But I'm fairly confident that we'll have favorable matchups against the majority of EU.
The coach of Shoes Money Crew, almost Panda, he's saying that Mulfig in Yab for trials. So
it's a great team.
He's kicking Mulfig.
What?
that it's a meme.
Oh, I hope so.
He was thinking, right, let's get him on our team.
Imagine. Okay, but now Obling, now you've got the inside track because Purge has just said that what they do is they pick out the strongest player and kill him first. So
now I know Mulfig. Yes.
And round we go.
Yes, and we begin. Then we just put everything into Mulfig and we'll be fine.
Okay. I actually think that this season of Trials and Contenders is going to be a pretty spicy one.
Yes, I'm looking forward to watching it for sure.
Yes.
Clockwork Vanilla is always fun to watch.
I'm looking forward to hopefully casting it. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, we'll arrange something.
All right. Let's wrap up the Contenders bit for now. What I do want to say is I would like to do some bets at the end of the show about either showdown or playoffs, and it's silly bets. So funny things that you guys are willing to do if you lose. Some examples: we had Ham Tornado did a shoey last year when she lost to Contenders bets. I ate a chili pepper on an episode of The Grind, and I had to I ate 2 chilies, and then I had to do the whole episode. Bupasaurus said he was going to dye his hair blue. So, and then we had some bets very recently, just tweet bets. So I think it was like Opti said he would tweet NA better than EU, no context or whatever. So just fun, silly little things that you'll do if you lose your bet. So start thinking about that now. Chat, if you have some ideas, please send those through. I will try and grab them. And before we move on to the next topic, just want to remind everybody that !grind will bring you to our Discord server where you can drop some questions for the guests. We will be doing a Q&A at the end of the show, so please get those questions in. I feel like there's a lot of questions that are probably mulling around in people's heads, so telling you now so that you have some fair warning before we get into that. So the next topic that I wanted to discuss is going to be a little bit about the changes that have come into the game recently, and by recently I mean like now. The biggest one, I think, possibly for Clockwork is going to be no more stacking in GM.
Hold up. Okay. Well, if I can just talk about this topic, because I've been really this. If I can start.
Yeah, of course.
I just wanna first of all, I think that Blizzard needs to make up their mind. Just straight off the bat, they need to make up their mind, because first Blizzard makes it so that you can make your profile private, and then they make it so that they made the game so you can't see score, you don't have any information like before. You could just literally browse through the your team when you start off in 10 seconds. You could be like, okay, that guy's main tank, that guy's off, that guy's DPS, and then you just say boom, 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 and then you have a team. But now people have private profiles, nobody's talking, and it's very weird, you know. And I think that's why a lot of people in the EU stacked, because not only was there a language barrier, but because there's no information or people talking, you don't know what to do in your team, you know. So I mean, you're putting DPS players like Tabu, he's sitting on Mercy and stuff, and he's like, oh, do I play bunker here? I guess we're playing bunker. And he's a Tracer God at 4.7k. So I think that this could probably be a good change. But the thing is, they need to bring back so you can actually see profiles, and they need to show stats so you know what's going on, you know. Because in a team game, you need to know what's going on and need to synergize with people, and you can't do that without communication and information.
It's a fair point.
I honestly think it's a really good change. It's gonna change that it actually, how do I say it? That top 10 is actually, you know, you're good if you're in top 10. It actually matters to be high rated, I think. I think with stacking, it's very easy to do it because stacking is OP. So with the new change, people is actually gonna care for their rating. They're actually gonna try harder in their games. You're probably gonna get way better games. So I think it's a great change, to be honest.
Well, I think it's not a good change. I think it's like taking a possibility out of the game. I think you should be able to play with how many and with as many and whoever you want in any rank. I mean, maybe the top 50 or top 10 will change. Maybe the French 6-stack will get out of it or something. But like, I think it's kind of silly. I think you should be able to stack with 3 friends. So what?
The problem comes in with those like 3 a.m. 6-stacks that are basically farming free SR, and it really irritates people. I think that's one of the biggest complaints that I've heard about stacking.
But I mean, at the same time, you can still do like win trading or whatever. And I think, especially now that stackers can't get their SR at 3 a.m. anymore, they will just win trade at normal queuing times, and that will ruin games.
Can you win trade if you can only stack as 2 max?
Yes.
I mean, if 2 people queue and then like one other guy that's not in the group queue at the same time to get in the same game, then maybe, yeah.
One throws, the other one wins.
Maybe.
Does that sound like a viable issue, though?
I mean, there was a report by Overwatch PD, the Discord server, like yesterday or 2 days ago, that people were win trading like 2 p.m., like literally at noon. There were like reports of win traders like left and right, you know. So hey, it's the Wild West right now, you know. It's kind of like a circus wheel. You don't know what's gonna happen.
Jeez, that's kind of a scary reality, though. So, has this cropped up as a result of the stacking change, or is this just something that's been going on?
I mean, win traders have always been there. I think when you look at the Overwatch PD, there's always like people reporting win traders, but I think now there will just be way more in the game.
Maybe that's. Oh, sorry. Maybe that's gonna. Okay, you go ahead. You go ahead.
All right, fine. I mean, I just wanted to add because I haven't, and obviously, like, I don't play at GM, so like it's way less my issue than it is like, you know, all you guys is. I think the thing is, there are like 2 sides that I've mainly seen to this argument, and for most people who I think, like from what I've seen anyway, most people I think probably share an opinion with Obling, and like people who like in solo queue, whatever, like there is so many more negatives to coming across like a stacked group than there are to actually gain. But that could mean that it might be a good idea for Blizzard to like implement a different kind of game mode that allows you to do that, and actually encourages like having like predetermined teams, like maybe not even necessarily name it as stacking, but almost like how you'd have like scrims or pugs in like a custom game lobby, but as a matchmaking thing. And so it could be that they can have like both, but I think it seemed like it's been important to a lot of people that stacking that highly in GM isn't available. Like it seems to be something that a lot of people don't like. So I'd imagine for the majority of people at that elo, it is a good change.
I think it's funny because I see a lot of people like on Twitter or something. At the end of the day, they cry about how they lost 300 SR because they queued into 5-4 stacks and they just lost because they're all trash and stuff, and they want to solo queue and get good games again. But I think it's going to be the same now with all the win traders, and now people are going to complain about the win traders. It's going to be the same problem, I think.
I mean, maybe, yeah, it's going to be the same, but like something needs to change because like if you queue, like you solo queue or duo queue and you meet a 4-stack, like people don't really care, right? So if you solo queue, some people are like just on the smurf, like doing whatever, they're not going to communicate, they're not really trying, they're playing maybe off-roll or something. Like it's so hard to win the game if the other team has 4 people that is like really trying, play the main role, trying super hard. So like they needed to change something. So I like the change. Maybe the win trading is a problem, but we need to see, I think.
I mean, I kind of like the solution of Geo, to be honest, but I have a question for that. Would there be separate SRs for the one system where you can group and the one where you solo queue?
Good question. I honestly haven't thought that far. I've just seen basically like a number of people discussing these things, and this is one of the kind of solutions that I've like seen people come up with. I guess that you would probably have to do that. Because yeah, obviously like you stacking is probably going to give you more of an advantage and allow you to get a higher SR than if you're solo queuing. So maybe it just wouldn't even, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. This is why it's not my job. But like yeah, I guess like a solution is not going to be come up with like right on the spot, but it would probably be something that would have to be considered if they were to implement something along those lines.
I want to go back to what Purge said. It's just really short. I 100% agree that the private profiling thing needs to change, by the way. Like, I agree with that. It is, just
yeah, dude. Like
you have no idea, like, when people play and stuff. Yes,
especially when people are in Smurfs and they're like level 100s and they just pick Tracer and you don't know if it's a main tank just trying to throw the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's kind of like my point, that if you want to make like a solo queue environment, say if everyone's happy, when I queue right now in solo queue, when in EU, especially if you guys follow EU, Overwatch, you know how bad this stuff can be, but basically when I queue in as solo, like there's gonna be games where there's no one talking, there's private profiles, I have no idea what people play, I have no idea like if people like have been GM forever or if they just got GM last season. I have no info, and it's so difficult to build a team like that. So that's kind of like my main point, that they need to bring back, like, either show stats, introduce a role queue, or remove private profiles, so you can actually get synergy going in the team and actually like have a viable environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree, but I think it's gonna change when people start caring for being high rated.
Yeah. That's also a very good point that you made, that people will.
Yeah, because
top 10 now would be insane.
Yes, like it matters so hard. Like if you're top 10 after the new thing, it's gonna like mean you're insane. Like I remember back in like season 2 where people like there was sometimes where there was like really good games where everyone like trying insanely hard and stuff. I'm really hoping that will come back. Yeah, that's why I think it's
nice.
Season 4.
Yes.
Soon, TM. That was kind of the biggest thing that I wanted to talk about, just in terms of changes. And we are kind of running a little late here. We've had quite a bit of fun. So let's just get straight into our next topic, which was going to be the World Cup. This has not obviously been confirmed for 2019, but so far, all the information we've received has been kind of limited and a little bit ambiguous. And I'm just wondering, what are your thoughts on every game being played in Anaheim? Like, what kind of repercussions can this have in terms of like practice time and financial support? How do you think this will limit the talent that can go to the World Cup?
Right. Okay, I want to start. And I'm probably going to sound like devil's advocate because a lot of people have had their complaints. One major thing that it's going to massively improve is quality of the broadcast. It is like not a secret that there were some issues with broadcast production in the World Cup stops last year. It is going to massively improve that, not only just the broadcast, but also the setting. I don't know if any of you guys have actually like been to BlizzCon. I went last year, so I actually watched the World Cup. I also went to the Paris stop as well, so I got to see like one of the stops and the actual thing, and it was insane. It was insane. So like the fact that they'll have that would be great. A lot of people are talking about like the cost to like fly teams and the fact they only want to pay for 10 teams to be there and things like that. It's definitely like being a compromise, let's say. Like it's very different. It means that obviously like with the World Cup stops that we had last year, if you were competing in that, you would get flown there, etc. Even if then you didn't make it to the finals, like, and you weren't in the top 10, you were still actually having that paid for you. But I would imagine that what they have done is have a same, if not very similar budget to what they had last year. And they are trying to condense it down into something a little bit more coherent. I don't know what the prize money is this year, so maybe like that will change, like who knows. But the amount that it costs to have all these different stops and BlizzCon and fly every single team competing and then all of the playoff teams is insane. And also you got to pay for the visas and shit because they're going to be working. Like that is a monumental cost. And if they can still have the same event, which a lot of people didn't think was going to happen because they thought the gauntlet was going to be in place of the World Cup, they can pay for the top 10 teams, so the teams that people actually care about. And that sucks for the people. What I mean by that is, like, it sucks for the people who are in the teams that aren't in the top 10. But as someone who is watching the World Cup to view an event rather than, so the people who are going to be buying BlizzCon tickets and going there, that they will be seeing like the best Overwatch there. I suspect crowdfunding will probably end up being a major thing, and given how like passionate the community is, I don't expect that to fail. I know that obviously in my case the UK will end up getting paid for, they're in anyway. But if I were in that situation where I were from a country that weren't in the top 10, I know I'd be happy to donate to a crowdfund for that, and that will probably end up happening. But I just think it's probably going to make for actually a better event. It will suck for a number of people that they won't be more local, but look at any major esports tournament in the world, it's got to be somewhere. And BlizzCon is in Anaheim, and yeah, it might suck that it's not in like your city on like whatever continent, wherever, but it has to be somewhere. So it's changes, but like I don't necessarily think it's going to be bad.
I think you're right with that, but like for example, like Denmark, I think we don't get paid for, so we need to do the funding, and which I don't know if it's gonna if it's gonna happen or not. But I think we have like insane players, so it really really suck that we're not gonna go because we can't get the money, if that makes sense.
So for me, it's like for many players going to these separate stops in Paris or something, for them that's a World Cup because they're not going to make it to the playoffs in Anaheim. So like that's their dream. And I think a lot of people, if they have to pay for their own flights and stuff, the crowdfunding doesn't happen, maybe say in Germany or whatever, they're not going to compete, and like the whole team and the whole staff is going to be so scuffed. It's going to be just people who can pay for their flights.
Yeah. Well, I know specifically Fisher is doing like a 1 month long charity stream to try and
I saw.
Denmark,
Yeah.
which I think is pretty damn cool. If more people can get involved in stuff like that, then it can possibly make it happen. But overall, I think it is going to be difficult for a lot of teams to actually get there.
Oh yeah, and about the scuffed part as well, I think that's like moving on to the next topic a bit, but that's also with the AIDS restriction. I think that's going to be really like weird.
Do we know why they've implemented that?
My suspicion is that it's now becoming an owl scouting ground. Less of an overall show match and more of like, this is talent that we can pick up for our teams right now, as opposed to someone like Eclipse, where it's like, well, we got to wait 2 to 3 years before we can actually pick him up.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think if people like pop off in World Cup and like Overwatch League teams are like, we want that guy on our team right now, but we can't, then that's kind of fucked up, and it's supposed to give players a lot of exposure, and that's what it's doing right now.
Yeah, like World Cup is the biggest exposure you can get.
Yeah, it definitely felt that way last year, where like so many people ended up like getting jobs and whatever off the back of the World Cup. And like, even if they were too young or like they didn't get jobs, like the fact that they had so much exposure and were spoken about so much has done wonders for their career.
Yeah, like I think that a lot of what you said, Gio, is true. Like, if you want to have this event every single year, like the costs will just be like, there will be so many like things you have to keep in mind and do in order to keep this event running. Especially if you want to like invite every team and all that and pay for all that and get the visas and stuff. That's going to be really complicated. I think this is positive because not only will this serve as like Overwatch League scouting ground. So when you see someone, like, oh, that guy's actually good. Like, let's take the UK for example. You still had the people like Kib, you had the fusions and stuff, and people like, wow, these people are actually really, really good. So you will still have those kind of moments where people see players from all around the world and they will say, Gushue is pretty good, we should pick him up for a team or make a roster with him. So that's really good. But the only bad thing I feel about this is that you will most likely never see a lot of young talent that we have in a lot of regions. I know, for example, that British Hurricane just picked up Sparker from EU Ladder, which is a very, very young.
He's like 15, 16.
Yeah, he's a very, very talented hitscan player. And if Sweden ever go World Cup, well, we won't see him. And it's the same with like Eclipse and all these like great players. So that's the only bad part. I feel like it's going to be like an 18 only event. So a lot of the younger people that play the game, like if this was early, like if this was season 2 or 3, I would just be like 16. I would be like, oh, I can't play.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I definitely agree that I think it's a shame with the age limit. And I can understand why they are doing it if they want to have like the immediate ability to be able to pick players up. But I do think it's a shame because there is so, after like working on contenders and trials and open division and seeing all like the talent that come through, like a significant portion of it is under the age of 18.
Yeah, and I want to add that if I can just say one final thing about the age thing, that one of my teammates, for example, like it just means extra much to me because people on Clockwork Vendetta, we've had people who are like under 18 and stuff, and they're really good players, but they will probably never get the opportunity to play for their country or get exposure that way. So that's that the other people got to do last year.
Yeah, same for my duo partner. He like tweeted out, I think, he said like this was his dream for years now. He's 16, I think, and he won't be able to do it, and he doesn't think he's gonna get enough exposure to get a contenders offer or something without World Cup. So he's like really devastated.
And that's true because a lot of players from the last World Cup did actually get picked up onto if not contenders teams, high tier 3 teams, which then eventually would have led to contenders offers. So the whole idea behind the show match was so important for a lot of players, especially those that weren't able to do well in the tier 3 because of the way that the regions work for open division. For example, EU, there are tons of fantastic main tanks, but the best main tank in Austria, for example, might not be the best main tank in EU. So they might not be on the best T3 team, but they might have been on the World Cup team, and that might have put them on somebody's radar. So it's things like that that do make it a little bit unfortunate, just in terms of the age thing. I understand that OWL needs a scouting ground, but yeah, it's a bit of a double-edged sword there.
Yes, for sure.
All right. I think that probably brings us to the end of our scheduled topics for the evening. So we are going to dive into those questions. Unfortunately, I only have like 2 questions, and
nice.
both of them are for Purge.
Okay.
So
I feel special.
Feels bad. Aw. Well, you've upset the entire tier 3 team, so.
Thank you. I do my
so
best.
Please, guys, this is last chance. If you do have some questions for any of our guests, please do get them in. I see Obling is immensely popular, and no one.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's because he looks like Jimmy Neutron and he's 16.
Okay.
Oh my god, dude.
He actually does look like Jimmy Neutron.
Yes.
Why do you have your hair like that, man? I just gotta say.
First question of the evening. Why does your hair
Like defines gravity?
It's actual good cosplay, man. You should
yeah, thank
look
you.
into
Thank
it.
you. Yeah.
All right, cool. So if Obling loses his bet, he's cosplaying Jimmy Neutron. Cool.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I'll have to see that. I'd pay for that.
Dude, mood. We'll start GoFundMe to pay for the costume.
Just do it right now.
All right. So let's get into those 2 questions. Also, guys, we want to do the funny bet. You can think of something for our guests to do should they lose their bet, please drop that in the chat as well. So first question, that I have is, what do you think of the stirred pot that you guys have made in the tier 3 scene?
I don't know what you mean by stirred pot. Like
You've like shaken things
Literally
up.
upset everyone.
Like people are just surprised that wait, a team that didn't play goats actually won. Like, whoa, this is super like unique and stuff. But I just feel like it's not that like surprising, right? Because a lot of people during the goats meta kind of forgot how to play the game. So now when goats is like back in the meta or out of the meta, sorry, and people try to play goats, it doesn't work out well. And then when they have to flex to other roles they haven't played in like 10 years, it's not going to end very well. So I mean, we came prepared. We've been playing this since forever, man. I mean, we're ready. We're ready to do even more. And I mean, I didn't really doubt my team going into the open division. I just felt like a lot of the talent that was like Cafe and his team and Novus, a lot of the players like Allplan and stuff. You guys remember Allplan? A lot of people from like old, super good high tier open division teams left, and they went into contenders. And I'm like, okay, so now we win. That was kind of like the mood there.
Yeah.
I mean, all planned. Slur and JK is on SMC now. All planned.
Yeah.
JK is insane.
Yes.
JK is nutty.
Best Winston you for sure.
Yes, for sure.
He's insane.
100%. All right. Then the next one was, what do you see in the future for Clockwork Vendetta?
Well, hopefully, as you guys know, there has been an announcement by Blizzard that they will be forcing teams to make academy teams, right? Mm-hmm. So they will force like all the teams that don't have an academy team to make one, which you could say is bad because then the grassroots like teams that want to build from the ground, they will have less of a chance because they don't get sponsored and that stuff. But because they make academy teams, that means that Clockwork Vendetta can be signed for Chengdu Hunters academy team. And we can have like the
They already have one. They already have an academy team.
Yeah, they have one.
Yes, it's called LG Huya, and they're like the best team in China.
How come nobody told me this? My dreams are ruined. I mean, if we're not gonna get picked up on Chengdu. Oh no! Oh no! My dreams. Well, okay. The future for Clockwork Vendetta is Overwatch League. I mean, we just win. We win the trials. We win contenders, and when we're number one, there will be like an organization like, these people play very, very wonky stuff. Yes, they will very, very good promotion, and then they sign us, and then we get a big like gaming mansion with like with stuff, and we finally can buy Suitor a PC. You know, Suitor, our main support, he plays on 30 FPS, and he plays like Zen and stuff, like 30 FPS warrior. Yeah, dude he needs a new PC. We need to get sponsors.
He's popping heads.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Dude, he's insane. He's crazy. He literally 1v6s and stuff, and he trances to get back to the team. Like, his playstyle is like above 500 IQ, you know? So we felt like, okay, but we have to win contenders then we can get him a proper PC. So that's kind of the goal for Clockwork Vendetta right now. Get Citra a PC. Hashtag give Citra a better PC.
Okay, everybody get that trending on Twitter.
Yes.
I switched Overwatch onto 30 FPS the other day just to see what it looked like, and it made me feel sick.
Yes.
He plays on like a dollar store like mouse pad, and he has like one of those fat ass screens, you know, like these big screens that he played CS on back in the day. Yeah, he plays on one of those. I don't know how he does it, but natural talent.
Like on Winston, like main tank, maybe on main support you can do it, but on like Zen, it's incredible. Like, wow.
Yeah, the guy is nutty, so we were like, okay, well, let's get him a PC then.
Heavy.
So that's the goal at the moment.
All right. Next up is pretty much. I've got some more questions now. Yeah. This one's pretty general. Do any of you guys have exciting plans for the future? And now this is not like this is the dream, so Clockwork Vendetta to Owl, but like actual solid like. You always look so heartbroken. I can't deal.
It's gonna happen. I know it's gonna happen. I'm confident.
But so in terms of like actual solid plans, is there anything that you guys have that's really exciting that's coming up?
I mean, I'm still with SMC. We're doing tryouts, but nothing yet.
Tryouts, leaks.
Tryouts. I mean, you better tell us where Molfig.
They're gonna be looking out for Molfig.
Yes. But yeah, nothing yet.
Huh.
Yeah,
Y'all's
pretty
lives are
much
boring.
same for me.
I mean,
This is one of the, go ahead, sorry.
I was gonna say, as with the nature of like being freelance, there's stuff that's like, oh, this could be happening, but like no contract signed, so
Yay.
gotta.
Or just no leaks.
Yeah.
No, my life's not that interesting. I don't think it's worthwhile to leak.
Oh no. Oh, no.
People DM me leaks and I'm not allowed to tell anybody, so I just sit here with all of my leaks.
Wow, look at you
Yes.
flexing your contacts.
No leaks.
Some Molfig leaks.
It's a bit of a monkass.
All right. Moving swiftly along before anybody takes notice of that. Obling, how
Yes.
do you feel you compare to other Brig players in Europe? And I'm studying
Uh-huh.
Molfig.
Of course it did.
My man.
I mean, yeah. I think Brig is one of the hardest roles to tell because I think Brig it's not mechanically insane, right? Like, of course, it requires a little bit, but it's mostly like about decision making, having big brain. But it's also like about, I think like maybe 50% is like how your comms is. So I can't really tell for sure, but I think Leaf is insane. I think Vasily is insane. I think Urki is insane. So I would say I'll take top 4. That's fine with me. Top 4 EU, Brig.
Very humble.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So the next question is, who's the best Brig player?
Oh, Vasily is.
Facility.
Yes. Like I don't know how he does it, but he always knows when our Lucio has beat and stuns the beat. Like, I never seen, like, Gustav gets so mad every time. Like, he says, Vasily is the only guy that fucking does this, and he keeps stunning the beat. Like, it's insane. So, I don't know. Vasily is,
insane.
yeah.
I want to
That
see him
actually
now.
That happened in the OD Grand Final, where Wind and Rain took Eichenwald off of Clockwork, and it was purely off of bashing the Mei out of the
Okay.
Oh.
Don't talk about that, dude.
No, we talked about that forever. That was
Come
such
on.
a good play. Big brain, Brig plays. Words are hard. More questions for Obling, and I'm pretty sure there's also Molfig. When do we see more Genji?
Oh my god. When Panda allows it, I would love to play. I would love to just play only Genji. Like, that's even the reason I became Flex DPS. Like, the first 3 seasons, I just one-trick Genji, like, when I played. And then now I play Brick, so it's completely different.
Was it because of the dragons, though?
No, I don't know. I just...
What?
The dragons.
Dude, this schematic is insane.
No, it was more because of, like, as Per said, I like to own noobs. So with Genji, you can kill more people. So yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
Okay.
But no, Genji is one of the more flashy heroes, I think. Sure. That's what I like. And now with Break, you never notice me. You never notice me when I do anything. So
Dude, it's unlucky for a Flex DPS player.
yes.
People can play Pharah, Junk, Genji,
I was gonna say, like,
Hanzo.
whenever I see your name, I always think of your Farah.
Oh, you do? Yeah, that's nice. Yeah.
You're not associated with Brig.
That's good. That's good.
You're
That's
one
good.
person.
Thank you.
One person.
I mean, I try, at least now when I play Break, when I get my one map of playing DPS, I try so fucking hard because I want to show that I at least know how to play that little bit.
You've gone way over your fuck threshold for this episode.
Sorry. Yeah, I said no shade. I'm sorry.
No
What I
swearing.
will say is, whenever I talk to Recent, when I talk about it, like the team or whatever, one of the biggest things he always talks about is how proud he is of you, particularly, and how far you've come as a Brig player. So that's a thing.
Nice. I mean, yeah. Before I joined NOS, actually in the beginning when I played with NOS, it was a big one on Brick, and I played Zaya because I used to play Zaya before for Singularity and like other stuff. And then I joined NOS, and I played Zaya. Big one played Brick, but it didn't go so well. Mostly because I don't know how to grab. My grab doesn't get eaten,
You press
and
Q. Oh.
I mean, I press Q, but it's so hard to look at the matrix while everything else is going on and stuff. So I became Brick, and Big One swapped to Saya, and I learned. But I always played the no stun through shield Brick, so I think that's a good thing though. I never tried the Brick that could stun through shield. So I think that's helped me. But...
Fair.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Okay, it said at grind. And we did touch on this a little bit, so I think I'm actually going to skip this. But the question was, what do you think of Vigility?
He's great and needs to be bought out by an OWL team.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, that was easy.
Yeah.
Moving swiftly along. Another question for Obling. Damn, I thought that.
You're not done yet? Oh.
Let's go.
What do you think of Lucio players? I feel like there's like an inside story here, but I'm just going to go with it.
What do I think of Lucio players? I think Lucio players are like... Okay, so Lucio players is something that like changed. I think like beforehand, Lucio players were like mostly the guys who was like... Oh shit. Do someone else.
That scared the crap out of me.
You can see him giggling from here.
Who's he letting in?
Don't break it. Don't break it.
I tried it.
You say hi.
You say hi? Jeg kunne ikke få kameraet til at virke, så jeg er nødt til at gøre det over der i stedet for.
Nå, det er okay.
Ja, du må slet ikke røre med bordet.
Like the whole gang.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. Yes.
Okay, Lucio players.
Lucio players. Okay, so like I said before, my role used to be the most flashy, and now I'm playing the most dull role. I think Lucio players has changed. Before it was like mostly about being like having a big brain and like decision making, doing shot calls and stuff. But I think more recently, Lucio players has to do so much mechanically. Like, and Lucio can do so much in the ghost meta. Beforehand, Lucio just had to like peel for the flex support or whatever. So I think that changed. But I don't know.
Who's the best Lucio in EU?
Best Lucio EU?
Yeah.
Webster.
Webster. So Lucio is also about most calls. Who? I would say Gustav. Gustav is insane.
Hey,
Of course, man.
But then again, like Lucio is a lot about calls, and I haven't tried everyone, so I can't really say for sure. But I think Gustav is insane. So yeah.
Okay. No bias. All right, another one for Obling. Jeez, dude.
Oh my god.
Start the Obling fan club.
Along with Morphic.
Nice.
Do you think you've been constantly improving over each season? Ooh. Or did you have one season where you thought you were just like insane?
Are we talking ranked seasons or contender season, you think?
It wasn't specified. Whoever asked this question, if you're still around, if you could specify that, I'll just go to the next one for now. So the question was, do you think you've been constantly improving over each season, or did you have one season where you thought you were insane? Whoever asked that question, if you can just specify if it was ranked or specifically contenders.
It's probably contender seasons, right?
Maybe.
I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
I think it was ranked.
So the next one is for like everybody. Do you guys think that teams would actually play 6v6 ranked games outside of open division to prove themselves?
Yes.
You mean like a separate queue? I think
Yeah,
that's
what we
the
talked
thing,
about
right?
earlier.
Yeah.
Like a specific 6-man queue.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah, maybe because then you could play with people who aren't on your competitive team, but who you like maybe used to be on a team with, or who you're like good friends with, you enjoy playing with. Like, yeah.
Yeah. I think it would be a good ad.
Okay, we'll go back to that question. So apparently he meant generally as a player, but he said we'll go with ranked.
Okay. So in ranked, I definitely kept improving. Like the first couple of seasons, of course. Like when I see like if I did like how do I call it, a clip of like some cool stuff I did back then, it's like like why did I even clip this? Like it's not even that good, you know?
Yes,
So
I had that moment too.
yeah, exactly. So I definitely feel like I improve over the course of my seasons. Except though, because there's some point when people, I'm gonna go back to the other thing we talked about earlier, that people started like stacking and rating didn't really matter that much when we're talking about rank, right? So there's like at some point I'm like, okay, rank doesn't mean anything to be high rated, I think, anymore. So I'm like just playing to have fun, playing to talk to my stream or whatever. So I would say around probably season 5 or something, I stopped really improving in ranked. Yeah.
All right. That was our very last question. Yeah, thanks, guys. So we didn't get to do the silly bets because y'all didn't think of anything good, and chat didn't think of anything good, except for the Jimmy Neutron cosplay.
Yes.
I feel like we should.
I'm kind of glad about that. I don't want to be making any scary bets. I'm such a pussy when it comes to stuff like that. Like I don't know anything.
I think you even pinned it in the one Discord that I said that I will donate 50 euros to Purge stream if they make contenders.
Oh, let's go. Recent. Oh, this is a good one. I'm putting this out. No, I'm putting this out on blast to everybody. Recent has said he will dye his hair pink if Clockwork make it to contenders.
Ooh.
I think
Purge, let's go.
I think you should rename Clockwork Vendetta to Shoes Money Crew EU Academy.
No, we should rename to Moldfig. He's the only man who.
Yes, I like that.
Moldfig Academy.
Moldfig Academy. I like it.
Moldfig's
I like
Money
it.
Crew. I have said consistently, y'all's name should be Fire and Ice. That just makes
Fire
sense.
and Ice, just because of
Yeah.
May and Torb.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, you combine those ultimates and then everybody just
Fire and Ice, Wind and Rain. Like, we're getting very Pokemon here.
I mean, maybe the thing is that, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if we just call ourselves like Fire and Ice, we gotta play Torb May, or else it will be just. It's like being called. There was this French team called like Chèvre, which basically means a goat or goat, and then they didn't play goats, which was a bit weird. You know, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's a bit weird.
It was like a mind game, but then it was like, yeah, I don't know.
Mind games, PogChamp.
That actually, how did you guys come up with your team name, Clockwork Vendetta?
So basically, we hate the GOATS meta. We hate the GOATS players. So because they took our playoff spot or our trial spot last season, we came back. Boom, Eva Vendetta. Every GOATS team, they will die. We will beat them. Every single GOATS team that abused 3-3 to get into high rank. Now that GOATS is worse, we'll beat them. No problem.
Meanwhile, Clockwork from Houston Outlaws is sitting there being like, how the fuck did I offend these guys?
Okay.
What I have been noticing, a lot of people have been posting screenshots about their ranked games, and it's every single game. Arissa, Roadhog, Torbjorn.
Yes.
What can I say? What can I say?
It's gonna be the Clockwork Vendetta comp.
Yeah.
The comparison that I always make. So I've had a lot of NA people in my DMs like, lol, how are you losing to this comp? Lol. And I was like, listen, Shoes Money Crew NA, even before Shoes Money Crew NA, you had the team GOATs who invented goats. And the whole world is making fun of y'all for losing to goats. And now we've been losing to goats for over a year.
They popularized
which
goats.
is just nonsense.
They popularized goats.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun when it becomes the new meta, and then we get picked up for certain like really high teams. They want the inside info. They want how do we dominate with this comp, you know?
Yes.
Kind of like how a lot of the goats players, like Gator, I think, got picked up and stuff. Or
I think so. I think he was on the original coach.
Yeah. So that's all we gotta do: win contenders, then Overwatch League, Easy Club, Season 3. Let's go.
Yes.
Just win contenders, forehead.
Yeah, I mean, you just gotta, and nothing to it but to do it.
All right, guys, I think that's pretty much everything we have time for tonight. We are a little bit over time, but it was definitely worth it. So I'm going to thank everybody for being here tonight. You guys have been absolutely
thanks for having me. It was really
thanks.
Thanks, it was really nice.
A lot of fun.
It was awesome.
Something that I do want to mention, I actually wanted to mention this when we were talking about World Cup and the future of Tier 3 for the year, because obviously the next Open Division is likely only going to be in December, just due to how the calendar has worked and the fact that there are only 2 seasons a year. So for those of you guys that aren't aware, there is a tournament that is coming up, and I do know that Clockwork is involved in this tournament. There are 3 other teams that have been confirmed as well. It's the Monkey Bubble Invitational. And these guys have been doing a lot. It's the Overwatch Community Exchange Discord server, and they have created this new tournament, and as I mentioned, it's an invitational. And what they do is they watch teams' performance in various tournaments throughout the year. Things like the Get Good, the Caster's Nest Cup, the Tournament of Future Champions, all of those. They watch the teams, and there's a point-based system. So when teams participate, they get a point. And the higher you rank in the specified tournament, the more points you get. And the highest pointed teams will be invited to this tournament. And the great thing about it is that if you go check on their website, there's actually like a scouting application. So scouts can apply, and they give you tons of information. They'll give you POV VODs, they'll give you statistics, they'll give you absolutely anything you need at the touch of a finger. So this is a really great tournament. And as far as I know, there is going to be an as yet unannounced prize pool as well. So there's a lot of great things that are happening in Tier 3. It's not dead for the rest of the year. So please, guys, don't disband just yet if you do have a Tier 3 team. And that's where you can catch Clockwork Vendetta. I think it's going to be after trials. So it's trials first, and then we'll have that competition as well. And of course, Shoes Money Crew, you can catch them in the next season of Contenders. Gio is going to be doing China, the finals very soon.
I'm not casting the finals, but the finals are very soon.
How dare you?
I believe that next weekend. Check the website.
You were the chosen one. Well, I'm sure Gio will be doing tons of fantastic things, as she absolutely always does, slaying it in esports. And Fivo, you're leaving Overwatch.
Yes, I am.
What? Where are you going, man?
Studies.
He's going to Shanghai.
Shanghai.
Okay, Purge does not listen.
No, but like you're leaving for good.
Yes. Yes.
Man, you can find a career there. Just learn Chinese.
I just learned Chinese for it.
Just learn Chinese.
Yeah, 5 years and maybe season 6.
I already said there is a Chinese academy team with an English coach. You can do it.
I mean,
Yeah, maybe.
Kefri played on a Korean team. I mean,
Yes.
it can be done. So I'm going to put a pin in that, and I'm going to say you'll be back, because I'm terrible with goodbyes. So thank you, everybody, for joining us for this episode of The Grind. It's been absolutely fantastic having all of you. Thank you, Bemi, for being our producer once again. You're a star, and for absolutely dying of laughter in our ears while we're trying to keep a straight face. It's been a pleasure to have all of you. Thank you to all of the viewers that were here. Thank you for all of your questions. Thank you for participating. And as I mentioned, I'm terrible with goodbyes. So I will see you in the next episode, likely next week. Have a good evening, and I'll see you then.